Hallo, assalamu alaikum, good morning, khushamdi, ji ayanu, goeiemorgen.
Pakhairagale, ni hao, chuneshume, washmale, ohio gonzaimes, guten morgen, hola, bonjour, privyet, kaifahal, hale shumat chatore, ahlan wasalan, marhaba, buna, mucho, gracias. Swabi up, and a very amazing good morning to everybody who's tuned into PTV World and are watching World this morning alongside the very fantastic, the very super talented Shiza Hashmi and Shahzad Khan. Hello Shiza, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great, thank you so much for asking. And I'm just really excited to reach the end of the week. That is because, of course, we're going to be having Eid. What about you?
Exactly, not just that, but before I speak about myself, I really need to ask, what are your plans for Eid this time around?
Well, of course, while we are also going to be doing the transmissions over here, which is going to be so much fun, by the way, you guys have to tune in at 11 a.m. I am also going to be sort of hopping between my in-laws, which is Karya and Islamabad. So it's going to be fun. It's going to be my first barbecue Eid with my in-laws this time. Well, excitement.
And I think it's wonderful, but are you actually going to, offer the, or probably do the Sunnah Ibrahimi as well? Do you have are you going to buy a goat for yourself?
Oh, I thought if I'm going to sacrifice it myself.
No, that's not what
Yeah,
I'm
we've
saying.
done it. We've done it.
Really?
both of us,
So
yeah.
you've already bought the goats?
Not the goat. I did another
Ahissa thing?
Yeah.
Or a collective Qurbani, ladies and gentlemen, that's the idea. And this is one thing which we actually wanted to talk about as well. That, ladies and gentlemen, since we all know that these times of eye testing, and it's because of the fact that there's a pandemic out there as well, and we want everybody to look after themselves. And we do not really want to see the surge in cases of COVID-19 as well, just before or after Eid as well. Please make sure that you guys actually stay back at home. Do not invite a lot of people to your places for barbecues. Even if in case you want to do it with your immediate family, people who are at your place. Please do not step outside. I've seen a lot of people, just because of the fact that there was this news the other day that all the malls and all the shops within Punjab are actually going to be closed till Eid now. So that day I saw that people were actually flooding out of their places as well and making sure that they buy whatever they want to buy. I mean, I just do not get this concept. I mean, for example, if God forbid, just because of the fact that you're stepping out and you're going to have some other human interaction which can actually make you be at risk, ladies and gentlemen, why do you want to do it? Why would you want to wear that new jora if it comes at the cost of you getting corona?
Absolutely.
Please make sure that you don't do that. Please make sure that you follow all the SOPs. If you're going to the mandi, please make sure that you go by yourself only. Do not take the entire family. Over here we have this concept, even if people come back from Umrah or Hajj, the entire family is going to go as well. Please don't do that. Please make sure that you protect your loved ones as well by just wearing masks and sanitizing regularly. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a public service message and it comes from the government of Pakistan as well. Please look after yourselves.
Yeah, and Shahzad, I think when we say that you have to abide by the SOPs as well, this is something serious. I mean, of course, people tend to take it lightly, but this is so important. Imagine, it's sort of a thing right after this Badi Eid, Shahzad, if you walk through streets and whatnot, unfortunately, you have to see some horrific scenes of, blood and organs, which should be definitely in a specific place where, the assigned place as well. So I can speak for Karya, where, of course, we're going to be sacrificing the animal as well. There's a big land which is just dedicated to this, and it's actually few miles or kilometers outside of Karya as well. And the people have collectively decided that it's okay if they have to walk away or drive away from their homes to go there and be do it in a safer environment. This is just an example that you can do as well. Save the people in your neighborhood from any sort of diseases as well.
Exactly, and not just that, for all of those people who've already bought their goats or cows, for that matter, please make sure that you look after their health as well. And there's just one simple sign. If, God forbid, your goat is not doing well or the cows are not doing well, first of all, do not medicate them by yourself. Obviously, consult a doctor. We are actually going to make sure that, on Friday, we call some experts over here as well who are actually going to guide you if, in case you are in that position, what to do and what not to do. But very quickly now, coming back to the date today. I think that it's a very important date today, ladies and gentlemen. Happens to be the 29th of July as well. But then I think that it is an important day because it happens to be the International Tiger Day, ladies and gentlemen, today. And we really need to look after that species. And it's because of the fact that we might be at the risk of going to an extinct of this particular species. Speaking about it, globally, we might not have more than 3,500 tigers or tigresses in that matter as well. But what to do, how to actually give them that natural habitat which will make them survive.
And you know, Shazad, actually, in 2010, people just started celebrating this day as well. But why did we have to, I mean, actually come up with a day where we have to talk specifically about tigers and saving them as well? Shazad, we are in the phase of the sixth massive extinction, sorry. And imagine this time it's because of humans, us. I mean, there's no meteor or something that's going to come, hit the tigers, and they will go extinct. It's because of us. It's because of the things that we are doing to the environment, where the environment is not safe for tigers to grow anymore. Or it's because of us who just go out randomly hunting those beautiful creatures as well. Just, I mean, hardly 3,900 of them, around 4,000 existing in the entire world, and that is just a very small number. But here's the good news. I know you have to add something, but I really want to have this good news. In the last century, of course, this was an endangered species, as in literally about to go extinct. But in the last few years as well, they are endangered, yes, but out of that extinction bracket now. So the numbers are going up, is what I'm saying as well. There are just, you know, very specific certain areas, especially in the East Asian region, where tigers are there. And of course, I mean, they're protected as well, and they're sort of, you know, people do make sure that they grow in number too. Like,
exactly.
You'll find some in India, China, right, go on.
Yeah, and these are magnificent mammals, ladies and gentlemen. But then at the same time, I think what we really need to keep in our heads is that for all of these species who are out there, I think first things first, which is very important, is providing them that natural habitat which helps them to survive. So we are at fault because of the fact that we have deteriorated the natural habitat for these species. Not just that, you know, it has become a sign of glamour, a sign of confidence. A lot of people who can actually afford to keep them as pets, they're making sure that they have them in large numbers as well. I happen to know a lot of people over here in Pakistan who have them as pets as well, which in a way I think is nice, but then the wildlife experts have to say something else, because once the cat has actually had an human interaction, you know, it's no more a big cat. It's actually probably, I do not know how to refer to it, but obviously they lose whatever their instincts were. You know, they cannot hunt, they cannot be out there in the wild then. And so there's no point in keeping them in, you know, probably whatever you create for them. But then at the same time, I think it is very important for all of us to realize that, God forbid, you know, it's us who are actually going into the jungles. You know, it's us who actually want to do something very adventurous, because I've seen that people are so ignorant these days as well that they just kill them. You know, God forbid, if, you know, just out of hunger, they come towards the cities or they come towards near humans as well, they just shoot them. Why do you shoot them? You know, I think that everybody, God forbid, if it's like it's an encounter where you think that your life is in danger, I think that that's something which you can opt for. But even then, you actually need to opt for a solution where you get away unharmed, and then the tiger actually needs to get away unharmed as well.
Animal rescue units maybe come in and save the tiger.
And I think everybody needs to join hand over here as well. We need to raise more awareness, because, ladies and gentlemen, they do not belong in our houses. They belong in jungles. They belong in their natural habitats where they can grow, where they can be free, where they can hunt, and be you know, a part of the regular ecosystem. And you know, just speaking of that, you know, there's this one documentary which I saw. There was this jungle somewhere in Australia where the ecosystem was very disturbed. So there were a lot of researchers who put in a lot of research and a lot of hard work, and then, you know, they finally realized that there was this one animal which was missing within the entire ecosystem of that jungle, and it was the foxes. And as soon as soon as they brought in those foxes as well, you know, the jungle actually came up to a level where, you know, it was optimum in the first place. And not just that, it provided conducive environment to all of those species which existed in that jungle. So imagine that each and every species, each and every animal, each and every individual is actually playing a role, and they are there for a reason. So how to protect them, how to make sure that we raise awareness, what are the conditions so far, ladies and gentlemen, these are the questions which we'll be asking today on the occasion of International Tiger Day. Ladies and gentlemen, we're very lucky that we've actually been joined by somebody who happens to be a wildlife expert, has actually worked with wildlife as well. He's none other than Dr. Ejaz Ahmed Saab. Assalamu alaikum, sir. Good morning.
Assalamu alaikum. Thank you for having me, and happy Tiger Day.
Thank you very much for joining us as well, sir. And we love your tie because it just says tiger all over it. Yeah, thank you very much for joining us. Alongside him, ladies and gentlemen, we're very lucky that we've actually been joined by an environmentalist over here in the studios, who's actually going to let us know, you know, what kind of natural habitat are we talking about? How have we deteriorated the habitat they were supposed to live in, and why aren't they existing in large numbers now? How do you think that we've actually kind of made sure, just because of the kind of actions we have, that they are actually becoming extinct? So I think that these are the questions which we'll be posing to Miss Mariam Shabir over here. Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning, how are you?
Good morning. I'm good, thank you. And on a lighter side, today is also launch of Prime Minister's task force who is
Yes.
planting a lot of trees as well.
Oh,
Exactly.
of course,
That
which is a
tiger
step
force is also
forward in conserving a lot of animals and
Yes.
ecosystems as
Yes.
well.
Exactly. But before we do that, I think, sir, I'll start my conversation with you. You've
Okay.
served the wildlife as well. You happen to be a wildlife expert. First of all, how's the condition? Where are we right now? Are we going towards, getting the species extinct, or are we going towards getting the species to grow? What are the things which have actually affected or have had a very negative impact on their existence? Where are we right now?
So, you want to know about generally about the species or related to tigers?
Tigers
Let's,
first.
let's go with tigers.
Yeah, I
yes.
think as you already, both of you mentioned that there are different anthropogenic pressures on the population of tigers. And one of the major reason of tiger getting endangered
Yep.
is basically related to overhunting and also the conflict between human and tiger. Because of the encroachments. With the population increase, people are entering into the habitat of different species, whether it's a tiger, whether it's a snow leopard, or just common leopard, whatever. So some species being very strong, like tiger, carnivores mainly, they do resist, and then this conflict actually arises. Otherwise, if we talk about ibex or markhor, goats, and other species, they don't retaliate. So it's basically tiger has a power. There is always a conflict. In India, in Bangladesh, in Nepal, I mean, like these things are very common. So now in Pakistan, we have actually seen the conflict between common leopard
Yeah.
and a human being. There have been many cases where and then in retaliation, people kill the animal. So that is, I mean, like the situation where. But then I think, in 2010, the whole international conservation community, they get together and they actually planned to do efforts to increase the population of tigers, and which resulted very positively, and that's why people celebrate the International Tiger Day, because the agreement which was actually signed in Russia was signed on 29th of July. So this International Tiger Day is celebrated
Back in St. Petersburg, I guess.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
And so after that, the agreement says that by 2022, we are going to double the population of tigers from 2010 into 2022. But the
that
population, well, it should be somewhere close to 5,000 plus. But
Yeah, because back in 2010, it was somewhat around 1411, and we're now at 2900. I think, speaking about the figures. Yes.
we are close to 4,000.
Yeah,
So
okay.
I mean, like it is, I mean, like possible in a sense. Excuse me.
Sorry.
That many countries are trying their best, and there are very serious efforts, because whenever a species is at the top of the food chain, if you actually protect that species, ultimately you are protecting the whole food chain.
Absolutely.
So similarly, I mean, like if tigers are increasing in population, so that basically means the whole ecosystem is intact and it is flourishing.
Alhamdulillah.
I think this shows that efforts have been quite successful in a sense that the population has increased. The retaliatory killings have also decreased to a greater extent, but still illegal wildlife trade. Then another factor is related to habitat fragmentation. Since tiger has a big home range, so all the developmental activities, is going on.
Urbanization,
Development, tourism, where people have to go into certain areas which are, very pristine and still natural areas. So ultimately, that is also affecting habitat fragmentation, resulting into poor quality of habitat for tigers.
Right, absolutely.
So they don't get enough food, they don't get that kind of shelter, and ultimately they are hunted.
Right, which is absolutely sad, yes, and I really do hope that we can double the numbers in the near future as well. And I was just sort of reading news about how Kenya specifically, pleaded to the entire world as well that we absolutely love tourism. I mean, you guys are most invited, but do not disturb our ecosystems as well. They literally put a lot in, making that ecosystem flourish as well. But Mariam, moving on to you, we have talked about how there's sort of an overlap of sharing environments in terms of humans and leopards in Pakistan's case and tigers generally. So we have seen a lot of videos from specifically India and the Odisha state of India, where every other day probably a tiger or a leopard would move into someone's house, and now from Margala Hills as well. So first question, are we intruding in their setting, or are they intruding in ours? And number two, if someone does come across such an intervention, I want to say, what's the first step they should do? Should they call animal rescue units or just let it be?
And adding on to that, there's one more thing which I think is because, she asked this very pertinent question whether we are going in to disturb them or whether they are coming in. I think that there's one reason is that since we have actually deteriorated their natural habitat so much, that I think that the ecosystem is not providing them with enough food, and eventually they are pushed to actually come towards the urban side of the area where they can smell some food as well, or probably us.
Is it so?
Please go ahead.
Yeah, I think it's very clear to predict that humans are the main cause of disturbing their natural habitat, because as far as population is increasing with the speed worldwide, and we are encroaching different spaces, and we are even getting into wild spaces as well. You can see alongside Margala Hills, Islamabad used to be a very small place and now it's very big. So of course humans are intruding their spaces, and when it comes to interaction between animals and most specifically tigers and humans, then of course it's a matter of survival. So in most of the cases humans get panic, and they try to kill animal, and in some cases they got it, but in many cases what humans should do is that they should call wildlife department and rescue teams, and they can come and really save that. And one of the interesting story in previous years was from Pakistan as well, when an Indian tiger got entered into Pakistan from the territory of Sialkot.
Interesting.
Yeah, and it hurted a few people, not killed, and there I think buffaloes as well, but they informed rescue team, and then it was rescued and transported to Lahore Zoo as well. So there are good cases as well, but all we need to do is do little awareness, but most importantly stay away from their natural habitat.
Exactly, that's very important, but then at the same time I think it is very important for us to actually shed light on the kind of environment which makes it feasible for them to live in it. But before I do that, so there's one more thing which I think we need to raise awareness about, and that is, since I happen to know a lot of people who've kept them in their houses, you said that once they've had an very sorry, but once they've had a human interaction, they're not the cats they were before. Obviously their natural instinct dies away as well, because you keep on feeding them food. Not just that, I think a lot of people do it, a lot of people hunt tigers because of the fact that they want a trophy, they want to put stuff the face of it, put it into their drawing rooms and just let other people know and laugh over it. Then there's another one as well where people do not get the permits, but since they're they're affiliated with so many of the other highly people who actually have authority as well, and they really do not have the authority to give you the license, but they actually have the authority to talk to the person who's actually supposed to give the license, and then they do illegal hunting. How do you think that we're going to stop all of this, and why cannot wildlife has its own force which is actually going to make sure that nobody does that? Because I've been interacting with people from wildlife, and I think that they're doing a wonderful job.
Yeah, and since when did it become a luxury? I mean, killing tigers.
I think this is right from the beginning. I mean, like hunting was one of the first professions where people actually will go and hunt, and the bigger the hunt is, the macho man kind of concept was there. But as far as this keeping animals and illegal hunting, I think over a period of time things have improved. The wildlife departments are more active, they have more powers. Still there is a lot to do, and there are cases where some big guns have been actually arrested in Pakistan. Just one thing which I would like to actually clarify, that we don't have any tiger in Pakistan, in the wild. So Pakistan is not part of the tiger range.
Just
In
leopards.
eastern, leopard, both common leopard and snow leopards are found in Pakistan. But then India, Bangladesh, Bhutan, Nepal, all these countries east of Pakistan, China, Russia, on that side. So they have tigers. So we don't have tiger, but we still feel that being part of the international community, it is our responsibility to look into the matter. For example, as you mentioned, the people keep tigers as pets, and they bring it from outside, and they pay a lot of money for that purpose. But they don't keep them into that kind of conditions where they are required actually. They don't provide that kind of food, they don't provide that environment. I mean, like a tiger having more than 100 square mile as their home range is actually squeezed into a 10 by 10 or even smaller cage. So I think people, they love them, but then that is not the way to actually express your love. That you are squeezing, like them in a very small room. They cannot breathe properly. They cannot actually play properly or whatever. They cannot do anything.
So all their natural activities are actually hindered as well. But then at the same time, ladies and gentlemen, that's not the only dilemma over here. There's one more thing to it, and that is, since we were speaking about TikTok as well, we were speaking about other social media platforms. So just for a number of likes, people are actually using lion cubs or tigers for that matter in their videos so that they can get more likes as well. But don't you think that we're being unfair to this species in particular? And sir, where you said we actually have to go out towards a short break, and I know Shiza that you have to add to it as well. But obviously, if we are not actually having that particular environment over here that actually supports the tigers, but then at the same time, all over the world, there are people who are putting in a lot of research in making sure that the species does not go extinct. So what they do is that they develop a facility, make sure that they are actually going to, probably produce more tigers and whatnot, and do a little bit of research as well. Why aren't we doing that? Why aren't we playing a role like that? Because I think, number one, obviously a lot of investment will go into it if we are going to develop a facility. Not just that, are we even ready to do that?
Absolutely. Now, this is what we need to talk about, Mariam, when we come back, inshallah. And also, I want you particularly to shed some light on the zoo culture that we have over here compared to the other zoos in all around the globe as well. Ladies and gentlemen, we're heading out to a short break, but I'm going to leave you with sort of a story that you can think about as well. So we were posted, of course, I'm from a military background, and we were posted in Murray for almost 2 years.
Wow.
And every other night you would come across something so creepier in terms of, wild animals and whatnot. So this one night, late night, we're coming back to home. My dad was in the SMI, so it's in between Natya Gali and Murray somewhere. And of course, so there was a leopard crossing the road, and when we turned on the headlights just to, make sure that it goes away, it came and sat on the bonnet, and we were just not really sure what to do about it. Now, what did my dad do is something I'll tell you after this very short break, ladies and gentlemen. Stay tuned to find out how we did or did not conserve the species as well.
That's interesting.
Good morning.
Let's do this. Ab ho gaya. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. We were definitely in conversation while you guys were on break as well.
Yeah.
But before going towards the break, Shiza over here actually had a very scary story to share with all of us. And she said that while she was actually posted alongside her family in Murray, there was an encounter with the leopard.
Yeah, now this is just one of the things that I was mentioning. Of course, there's been so many. So this particular was so scary because it was late night. No other cars on the road. Imagine, Shazad, how scary, of course. I mean, Murray, one side there's a mountain and the other side of the road there's a, I mean, something very steep. You just have to go down into the forest.
It only takes another tiger to get rid of the other tiger as well.
So I think my dad was the tiger over there. So while
Leopard,
we really sort of, convinced him, Baba, take out your gun, shoot it, why not? I mean, let's make a video of it. We were wrong at our part. We were only kids, got us some slack. But my dad did the right thing. He just waited there calmly without creating a chaos for it to at least feel comfortable. He just sat there on the car for a few minutes or something, and then it walked away. And then we came back home.
But I've got one question to ask. How hard was it for your father to make sure that all of you are quiet?
It wasn't really hard. We had faced so many sort of animals, even wild boars and monkeys and snakes, whatnot in Murray, I think you're pretty sure. So I think he sort of knew what to do about it. He had faced the similar situation with friends before as well.
Baba, you definitely did a great job as well. But right now, ladies and gentlemen, we're very lucky that we've actually been joined by another environmentalist over here as well, who happens to be Miss Noreen Jaswal as well. Hello, assalamu alaikum, good morning. Thank you very much for joining us. You're obviously catching up later in the conversation, but before going towards the break, we were actually talking about the zoo culture. And ladies and gentlemen, as far as zoos, everybody's been to the zoo, but what I think personally about zoos is that zoo is the only place where innocent animals are actually being prisoned as well. That's the only place where innocents are being prisoned. This is one thing we really need to change about, yes, but then at the same time, we are unable to do so. The rest of the world, the rest of the countries made sure that they're going to have wildlife safaris where they take you on a ride which is like kilometers and kilometers long, and the animals are free and you are the one who's caged in it. You're the one caged in that car. And I think that this is the way to move forward. This is the way how we are actually going to look after these animals as well. Because, ladies and gentlemen, there's only one thing what we are not realizing. God forbid if these species go extinct, it might have an impact on the ecosystem, and it might have an impact on our existence as well. This is something people are not figuring out as well. But how, as an environmentalist, do you think that we are providing the right ecosystem for all of those species which exist within Pakistan?
Well, I'll start that we have only tigers. We are not having actually tigers. We have common leopards and snow leopards in Pakistan, because Pakistan actually does not provide that sort of climate that actually require for the leopards, for the tigers. And we are having snow leopards and common leopards. And snow leopards are normally found in the Hindu Kush mountain region, in the GB region. And we need to actually take care of their habitats because they need mountain areas. And if the major reasons because of their actually extinction and endangered species is because of their habitat loss. And they live in the mountain regions. And because of climate change, actually their mountains are our glaciers are melting, and they are actually distracting their habitat. And if they will affect their actually habitat, it will definitely affect our climate. And we know if climate change is the biggest externality of 21st century. And Pakistan is the 7th most vulnerable country to climate change. And being environmentalists, I think we should work on actually raise awareness about these issues. And we need to, I think, take especially for creating in order to basically in order to combat this climate change, we need to create the idea of civic culture. We need to create more forests, because only carbon dioxide emissions can be absorbed by forests. And if they absorb more carbon dioxide, it will definitely slow the impact of climate change. And if we are actually saving tigers, we can say that we are actually taking actions towards climate change.
Yes, I totally agree with you, absolutely. And it's really unfortunate that we are the 7th most vulnerable country in the world to climate change. But now, Mariam, moving on with the zoo culture question as well, I really want you to shed light on it, because it's not going anywhere. In the future as well, schools are going to take children to trips to zoos, families are going to plan a picnic at the zoos as well. So how can we make it a better culture?
I think the idea of creating zoos in the beginning was to give awareness, like you said, that schools used to take kids even now, to zoos. It was for awareness and to tell students and little kids about animals which they can't see in real life because we don't really live with them. But now we have occupied their spaces, so we are actually living in their spaces. So, but zoo culture has changed entirely in Pakistan and other parts of the world as well. If we talk about other parts of the world, the area which we visit is, you know, small, but behind that the area is very large. They have provided almost all the required habitat which tigers and other species required. But in Pakistan, tigers, we don't have real tigers, but leopards. In zoos we used to have, but they don't survive because of different diseases and because of climate change and very small captivity. So that culture and that captivity and confined space is so you know, small that they can't really survive.
It must be traumatizing for the animal as well, right?
Yes, I have seen a lot of videos on internet as well, like you were mentioning, Shehzad, about TikTok videos that for fun we you know, make videos whenever we visit zoo or other places, or with even cats as small cats as well.
Right.
I mean, it's how would you feel if you are caged and
somebody
tigers
over there
and
making a video,
leopards are
like,
making
come
your
on,
videos and mocking you, and you really disturb them, and because of thanks to COVID-19, I think COVID-19 is not really good news, but it is good for environment and these species, wildlife species, because they have got some space for themselves to breathe. And they are now actually coming to our places. We can see a lot of, you know, monkeys and other species on the roads of wild boars and other species on the roads of Islamabad as well. So we really need to kind of create balance and create awareness among masses that you know, this is good to visit zoos, to do small trips by schools for education purposes, for awareness, but not for mocking, because they're also, you know, live creatures and they do feel things, and but they cannot say. Sometimes they express with roaring, but they can't really express the way humans do. So we somehow we need to create balance since very beginning from the schools, maybe by creating small chapters, or maybe showing them short videos to kids. So maybe these things can change mindset a little bit.
Of course, I totally agree with you, Mariam. And you know, of course, when we talk about awareness, that this is the way we need to move forward with as well. So sorry, I'm stuttering early in the morning. And to develop that sort of civic sense in the people that this is not the way forward. Dr. Ijaz, you know, I was just reading in terms of leopards specifically, about 220 to 450 every year are killed, and most of them for fashion reasons, for the fashion industry, to serve your purposes of buying probably a new shoe which is leopard print, or a new handbag which is leopard print. It's insane to look at it this way. I mean, I cannot even imagine if the story was reversed, God forbid ever. But let us know, how can we stop that? How can we raise that kind of awareness?
And it's hardly that I've actually seen a man wearing a cheetah print.
Oh, come on, I've seen. I have seen.
I'm sorry, but I'm going to say it away.
Yeah.
Gender biased.
I'm not, but I'm just putting out the truth.
Okay.
Well, I think this is very unfortunate in the sense that there are many species of animals which have been actually killed.
Butchered, literally.
Exactly. There is a good example of this shapu, which is antelope in the shawl is made of, you know, like the hair from, and the animal is killed. And now the antelope is extinct, and the shawl actually is very expensive. And there are cases in Pakistan also where people have some of the fashion designers have actually started using these animals and their skins or some other parts. There are laws, and then I remember that there was a fashion designer in Lahore where she actually started this shawl, and there was a big advertisement. So people actually went there and they demonstrated, okay, this is illegal, etc., etc. And then ultimately she had to actually stop that. We don't know whether it was stopped just on the screen or it was actually done actually. But yes, I think this is one of the major issue, this use of skins for you know, crocodiles, snakes, antelopes, minks, you just name it. I mean, raccoons. It's very big business. But then, due to various social pressures, these things are actually decreasing in number. But
Exactly.
illegal markets are flourishing. Another point which I think is also very important is illegal wildlife trade. And during this, this is second most largest trade, illegal trade after narcotics.
Oh. And you know, this is actually one of the biggest issues I have with international waters, where there can literally be, you know, no check of course, things being traded as well. But yeah, please carry on. This is really unfortunate to listen to.
So, and during this corona time, I think there was not much of sort of vigilance. So, I'm sure the traders have actually identified certain routes where they can, and if Pakistan is one of the country where this trade is also going on a larger scale. Just, I mean, like it's very hard to imagine even this animal like pangolin, which is, I mean, like very it's an insectivore, just eat insects.
Anteater, right?
Anteater, basically scaly anteater. So they are butchered. I mean, like and they are their reproduction is very slow. It takes time to, you know, like establish a population. So they are traded in Pakistan. Is one of the actually hub where from China people come and then they take it to Nepal, etc. So that is one of the major issue at the moment, and there are cases where customs and police, wildlife staff have actually captured, have seized some of the consignments which had more than few thousand kilograms of scales.
Oh God, imagine that.
And I think that it's wrong. It's wrong on all of us as well, ladies and gentlemen, because we really cannot actually blame one individual. Not just that, you know, even in our neighbors. I'm sorry if somebody is going to feel offended because of it, but they almost eat everything. I mean, we are not supposed to eat everything. We're going to leave something behind. You know, let them survive. You know, how can we actually do that? But not just that, sir. You very rightly mentioned that, you know, that we really need to raise awareness, where you weren't even sure that whether that designer from Lahore actually stopped or was it just on screen as well. So we really need to take some strict actions. But not just that, you know, before going towards the break, I told you that, you know, that people actually do a lot of research. You know, talking about tigers, you know, they have this another species which they call ligers, and they're just as big as, you know, you are probably bigger than me as well. Even a tiger is bigger than me, but liger is like 100% bigger than a tiger.
Wow.
If you're going to put in more research. But not just that, I think when we talk about illegal trade, we have seen that, you know, a lot of elephants, their teeth, you know, they've been cut away as well. Raccoons, you've mentioned. So for all of those animals, ladies and gentlemen, since it's a billion-dollar industry, so a lot of people are actually within the authorities kind of are teamed to all of those people who do this illegal trade. But why are we unable to, you know, create a facility where we're going to protect all of these species, put in a little bit of research, because we are an agriculture-based economy, and I think that all of these species play a very important role when we talk about agriculture. So moving on to you, how do you think that we can give them that conducive environment where they can actually live? And, you know, God forbid if we are saying that we do not have tigers over here in Pakistan, but we do see that, you know, a lot of people have them as pets. So why cannot we have them in the wildlife?
Good question.
We can have them as wildlife because we can actually then provide them their habitat, and we can actually stop this more anthropogenic activities, and we can provide them habitat, and with that I think we can increase in their number. And for that WWF is doing really great job, and they are actually involved in many different activities, like they are involved the local communities. For that actually and they also use camera and trapping for that. Actually, if any illegal activity or poaching done for these snow leopards, so they can actually detect, and they can inform actually the wildlife department, so they can take some strong actions so that we can actually save those species.
Okay, Noreen, also enlighten us about the SDGs that are in place to actually, you know, protect all these species.
SDGs were launched in 2015, and we have the time frame to actually achieve those goals by the end of 2030. And Pakistan is so much committed, and we all know that we have 17 goals, and they are divided into 4 segments. The first one is economic, social, environment, and government. And environment section there comes 4 goals. The first one is sustainable consumption and production.
Okay.
And 13 climate action, which we are very much aware.
Close to that, yeah.
Yes. and then we have 14 life underwater. And for this, actually, for this species, where it comes with SDG 15, that is life in life on land, in which we provide the terrestrial ecosystem where all these snow leopards and tiger species exist, and in which we actually maintain sustainable forests. We need to actually create more forests. Actually, we need to understand that each and every component of ecosystem is really much playing an important role for the balance of the ecosystem. If we ignore any one of this sector, it will actually affect our whole ecosystem and for our planet. We need to think about our future generations. We need to utilize our resources in a more sustainable manner, like we talk about water resources, and we also need to actually think about the carbon emissions from coal. In our CPEC, actually majority of the projects are coal-based power plants. We need to think about them. Although Pakistan's carbon emissions are only 0.03%, but you know that climate change is a global issue.
Absolutely.
We cannot say that if this country is doing producing more carbon emissions, so we can ignore it. We cannot, because we need to think globally. And while taking the conservation actions, we need to take all the government departments, even private institutions, academicians, scientists, so that we can work together to protect these species.
True, but even speaking about carbon emissions, I'm very sorry to bring it up as well, but I think, ladies and gentlemen, 0.3% is one of those which is like essential for a country. I think that for a country like Pakistan, this is something which will be producing. But then I think, you know, in terms of climate change, where we actually want to talk about it, we need to talk about all of those countries who haven't signed those protocol agreements as well, and they're still continuing to manufacture, and that too on coal power.
Absolutely. Reforestation is definitely for Pakistan right now the way forward as well. But towards the end, I really want to, you know, further your note, as Shahzad, where you started talking about solutions, we definitely need to take that forward. And Mariam, you know how we were talking about this is a billion-dollar industry, you know, trading and trafficking.
Or probably $1 trillion.
Yeah, of course, trading and trafficking different parts of animals as well. I really have to take this moment to talk about two youth from, I'm really sorry I cannot mention, probably from the Latin America region as well, who started creating, you know, bags and stuff using cactus and succulent plants instead of animal parts to make leather and whatnot, which is a brilliant idea. So what are some of the other ideas or solutions that you can come up with to share, or, you know, anything to give out as a message to our audiences right now?
So that we protect our natural habitat.
I think this is somewhat related to fashion industry as well. So I think using plants is to some extent it's good to use them, but to a larger extent this is also not fair to nature. But stopping, I would relate that to tigers and of course this poaching. I think we really need to stop poaching. This illegal trade, and Pakistan is signatory to such agreements, and I think on individual levels, local communities which are used for poaching can be sensitized and give awareness, and I think only awareness won't be enough for them, because they get a lot of money from that as well. So maybe providing them some incentive that, okay, if you will save some snow leopards or their species would increase, government will give them certain incentive, which should be, you know, greater than provided by illegal traders. Or in terms of providing them some patch of land where they can do carry out agricultural activities or any such thing, you know, would help conserve such species in snow leopards and other leopards in Pakistan.
Didn't that happen with markhors in Pakistan as well?
Yeah, the number have improved by involving local communities, and I think starting for anything, you know, name anything, any initiative, you involve local communities and you start from grassroots level, that is best approach, you know, a bottom-up approach we call it. That is best approach to bring a positive change, and same we can do for wildlife as well. I think there are a lot of other initiatives which we can take. I think law enforcement agencies and institute, they can also contribute to that as well. And
and I think that they should as well. We all of us, ladies and gentlemen, need to be on the same page. Very quickly, Dr. Saab, one last message, whatever you want to say today.
Well, I think as we already had discussion, that participatory approaches where we involve all the stakeholders, especially the community, who are custodian of their resources, and most of the species are actually living in remote areas, so the communities have access. So engaging community and sharing benefit with the community where they have some incentive for protection, I think is the best solution for this kind of issues.
Exactly, and very wonderfully said as well. But towards the end, ladies and gentlemen, I think that I'm going to give out a message, and it's going to be in Urdu as well. ख़वातीनो हज़रात, हम ये जो आज इंटरनेशनल टाइगर डे के ऊपर गुफ्तगू कर रहे हैं और हम बात कर रहे हैं कि स्पीशीज़ एक्सटिंक्ट हो रहे हैं, इसके अंदर सबसे बड़ा किरदार जो है वो लोकल्स प्ले करते हैं। और उसकी वजह यह है कि हम जब शहरों से, हम में से कोई भी इंसान जिसको शौक होता है शेर के या किसी के भी शिकार का, हम जाके उन लोकल से बात करते हैं कि हमें वो शेर ढूंढ के दो। तो आई थिंक अगर हम लोकल्स तक ये अवेयरनेस पहुंचाएं कि ये स्पीशीज़ एक्सटिंक्ट हो रहे हैं और इनको अब नहीं मारना है, और उनको ये अवेयरनेस दें और उनको इंसेंटिव दें, जैसे कि यहाँ मरीम ने भी बोला है, तो आई थिंक मुझे लगता है हम काफ़ी हद तक इस पे काबू पा सकेंगे। एंड फॉर ऑल ऑफ दोज जेंटलमैन हु, लेडीज एंड जेंटलमैन, थिंक दैट दे आर अबव द लॉ एंड दैट दे कैन एक्चुअली कॉल समबडी एंड गेट अ परमिट टू शूट an extinct species, please do not do that, because you're not doing a wonderful job with that. In fact, you should be ashamed of yourself.
I totally agree with you, and you know, mobilizing actually the locals is the way forward. I agree with all of you, like you mentioned. And you know, if we did that, if we did engage locals at all levels, in all forms, and you know, in terms of awareness as well. Today, Shazad, when we wake up, we did not have to come across, you know, videos of kittens being tortured by humans, and that is just a small cat we're talking about. Imagine the bigger ones. It's an unfortunate time to exist, and ladies and gentlemen, if you learned anything from our show in terms of how to save the environment or how to save the tiger, write us on our Facebook page to let us know with the name of
World This Morning,
on Twitter,
World This Morning without a G,
YouTube,
PTB World, and then World This Morning.
Yeah, and the repeat of this show you can catch
5
at
past midnight. Ladies and gentlemen, look after yourselves and look after the tigers around you as well. 1, 2, 3.
Good
morning.
Stay safe.